everyone. Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is former Tennessee Governor Phil Bredesen, who's now the Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate in Tennessee on the November election. Governor, there's on the 2016 campaign trail, President Trump often said that NAFTA was one of the worst trade agreements that this country had ever negotiated. Now he's worked a revised trade agreement with both Canada and Mexico, which he says, I guess not surprisingly, is one of the best trade deals ever. What do you think? Is the new NAFTA a good deal?
From what I can tell, the new NAFTA is a good deal. I mean, I can't tell you at this point that I've studied it in great detail. I think it is more rebranded NAFTA than it is fundamental changes. I think there's obviously some improvements in in some things. I think time will tell whether the hard feelings that were engendered by the way that happened between ourselves and Canada and Mexico was worth the improvement here, but we'll see.
Now, part of the way the president has been handling trade in general has been the use of tariff or the threats of tariff.
Right.
He's been imposing them. He's talking about even about still doing those on car imports from Canada, maybe from Europe. There's already some, I think, that are still in place even with NAFTA, with steel and aluminum. And is he making better trade deals for America? You've been somewhat critical of the tariffs, but they do seem to work, at least the threat of them in some cases, to maybe get a better deal like NAFTA.
Well, I think the tariffs are, first of all, very bad for Tennessee. I mean, they essentially amount to a tax on Tennessee businesses. I don't think that's the right way to go at very specific kinds of trade deals. And while I think that the NAFTA deal, from what I can tell, has some improvements over the other. It's not some fundamental reworking of the trade between Canada and the United States. I mean, everybody made a big deal about the dairy tariffs. They got fixed in it, but that's not that big of a deal in terms of the economy of these two countries. So I tend to think of them a little more as political theater than as anything else. And I think in the meantime we're getting hurt. I mean, the automotive industry, we've spent 30 or 35 years building up in this state. It started with Lamar Alexander, and they're scared to death of what this is doing to that industry and the jobs that it represents. I think we need to back off of this stuff and start working these things in a more professional way, kind of country to country, between us and China, for example, on intellectual property. That's just a better way of doing it.
You have a second and perhaps final debate with Congressman Blackburn next week on October the 10th. Mm-hmm. How do you feel you performed in the first debate?
I thought it was. I thought I was okay, a little rusty, but I didn't walk out of there feeling it was a problem. I thought we both did fine.
It's part of that rustiness, the fact that about 12 times she mentioned you were bought and paid for by Chuck Schumer. You did respond once saying you weren't going to be voting for Chuck Schumer for leadership, but about 11 other times you didn't respond at all. Should you have been more forceful about that?
No, I don't think so. I regarded that as she had a few talking points, and she must have mentioned Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton umpteen times, and I wanted to talk about what I wanted to talk about and not spend my time kind of responding to that kind of stuff.
Well, how will you be different in the second debate, if at all, than what you were from the first one?
I mean, I'll try to respond in the same way to the questions. I'm not going to waste a lot of time responding to any attacks that she has. She just got this kind of Washington style. Let's just throw lots of things against the wall, and maybe we can convince people that he's not the person that he used to be. I don't think they're working, and I don't tend to be drawn into it.
One other debate question. During the debate, you called her Congressman. That's the term she prefers. She called you Phil. She never used the honorary title of governor. Did that bother you at all? Most people, did it bother you being called by your first name?
Maybe smile a little bit, but you're welcome to call me by my first name too.
The Senate race continues to get a lot of national media attention. Stories almost every week about how Tennessee could be the key race that the Democrats somehow managed to take back the Senate. I suppose every campaign wants to get positive news coverage, but don't those stories kind of hurt you? Because the more they talk about how we could be the race that tips the balance of power, doesn't that sort of reinforce the Marsha Blackburn argument that you shouldn't vote for Phil Bredesen because you'll be giving Chuck Schumer and all the other national Democrats the opportunity to take back over the Senate?
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, I have to say, look, I genuinely do not believe there's any realistic chance of taking back over the Senate this time around. If you just, while it's mathematically possible, if you look at all the things that have to slip into place to make it happen, I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I've tried very hard to not nationalize the race. I mean, I think if this is a race between Marsha Blackburn and myself, I think I'll win that. If it's a race between, do you want a Democrat or Republican, that's a lot bigger problem. And what I want to do is just keep talking about, Tennessee and how these issues impact Tennessee, and not turn it into a referendum on Donald Trump or about national issues or national parties.
In your career in politics, you've always run and held executive offices. You've been mayor, you've been governor. Your business career has also been as the CEO or the boss. The role in life of a lawmaker is very different. Have you thought about that difference and how you'll plan to adjust to it? Because you don't get to do what you get to do as mayor and governor. You've got to negotiate.
I have thought about it, obviously, but you have to remember that in a political job like mayor or governor, to be successful, it's not at all like the executive job in the business world. You have to put together coalitions of a lot of different people. I mean, virtually every big thing I got done as governor was with a coalition of lots of Democrats and lots of Republicans. So I see it as similar in some ways. You're trying to build coalitions and structure things in a way that you can find some common ground with people. I did it as governor, I did it as mayor, I think I can do it as a senator.
Not to get way ahead of things, but have you thought about what committee assignment you'd like to pursue if you get to Washington, whether the Democrats are in the majority or the Republicans are? What committee you'd like to be on?
I mean, that's getting a little ahead of it. I think that given the background that I've got in both health and education as governor, I think that committee that Lamar is the chair of is one that I would certainly like to be on. I don't know if there's openings on it or not, but I'll cross that bridge.
Phil Bredesen, thank you so much. With so many things a candidate has to do running statewide, we appreciate you spending time with us today.
It's good being with you again, Pat.
And by the way, we have offered Marsha Blackburn the same opportunity to be on this show. We're still working out the logistics for her to join us one weekend between now and the election. Thank you for joining us on Inside Politics. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get up politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. The Zoo commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.